Memory is a pretty complex topic. We could spend an entire semester on it, so this video might be a little bit longer so that I can cover a couple of different things. So the first thing I want to start with is that memory is stored in many different ways. Our brains are like a computer, but they kind of are. So I'm going to give you a word, rose, and I want you to come up with a list of things that come to mind over the next couple of seconds. All right, so I wish I were with you so I could hear what some of your words were, but I'll give you some of examples that I often get when I do this exercise in class. So somebody inevitably will say something about smell. There may be different colors, red, white, pink. There may be a reference to Valentine's Day. Might be your first prom, your first date, maybe even your first breakup. Might be a reference to a funeral. But we can even go into many other places. Maybe it reminds you of bees or thorns or an injury that you've had. Maybe it reminds you of a very specific person or a specific perfume. I've even had references to the president and the White House because there's the Rose Garden there, or a reference to Pete Rose in baseball. So we can go in many different places, and I bet you as I say some of those different things, there are pictures and smells and all different types of your sensations may be getting triggered in a good way or a bad way. But that's kind of how our brain is. It stores memories in multiple places. It doesn't just take like one little section of our brain and say, this is the part that stores things about roses. It's stored in happy memories, sad memories, maybe traumatic memories, but it's broken down. I bet you've probably had situations where you've been sitting around the table with your family where somebody says, hey, remember when this happened? And you're like, no. But then when they say it, that whole memory comes flooding back. Memories are often stored by those sensations. So moving on, let's talk about false memories. So I just want to put in a word as therapists that therapists do not try to create false memories. We want to do the opposite of that. But there are therapies out there that do create false memories. There are really no professional organizations that support that. There have been Supreme Court cases about false memories because we don't want to create them. It's not ethical. It's not moral. That being said, decades ago, that's not where we were. So in the 1980s, there was a big slew of satanic ritual hysteria where it was very common that kids in daycares were accusing their daycare providers or parents of being part of satanic cults where they were being injured, where kids were being killed, and this was all a result of questioning and creating false memories. Also, as a society, we tend to glorify things like that. Think about some of the different movies and TV shows that you watch and how they kind of love that anxiety and the excitement that a storyline like a false memory would create. So we know that it's not ethical. We know it's not moral. It's really not happening that much. That being said, there are therapists that would use those, but it's more of a different kind of hypnotherapy. All right. So going into a little bit of your paper, pre-verbal memories. Memories before age 3 can never be verbalized because somebody does not have the language to put forth those memories. That's why most of us don't remember things before age 3, but they do impact you. You are able to form relationships because you remember the ability to form relationships before age 3. You might be afraid of something because of what happened before age 3. If you had a trauma happen, your body is going to react to sensations that bring forth that memory. For example, if you were in a car accident with thunder may create that kind of anxiety for you. So even though we can't put words to them, those memories are just as important as the memories that we can put words to. Let's see. And then I wanted to go a little bit into September 11th. Major national tragedies tend to kind of get seared into most of our memories. Personal tragedies, personal highs can also get seared into our memories. But things like JFK assassination, 9/11, Sandy Hook, Hurricane Katrina, those all stay with us a little bit more. Even something like an impeachment. I was just telling my kids the other day that, I've already lived through one impeachment in my lifetime. It wasn't something that I thought would ever be a possibility to happen again. 9/11. About a year ago, I was sitting waiting with my kids for the bus, and this song came on the radio, Neil Diamond's America. I started talking to my girls, and I was laughing and smiling and talking about how my sister and I used to make up these dance moves to it, and we would blast the song, and we'd put on productions because it was one of my mom's favorite singers. And within about 30 to 45 seconds of telling this, I started bawling, and my kids were freaked out because they were like, what in the world is going on? I immediately was back to those emotions of September 11th because I had gotten tickets from my parents and my husband and I to go see Neil Diamond. And it was about 2 weeks after September 11th in Detroit, and he started his concert with that song, with a humongous flag, and everybody was just very emotional after September 11th. So that song triggered that memory for me of going from an extreme happy place to an extremely sad, fearful place within just several seconds. This past summer, we actually went to the 9/11 Memorial Museum in New York City as a family, and again, just seeing pictures and items from that day took me right back to that day. And I, as many of you mentioned, could tell you everything from that day, where I was, who I was with, the different news and radio casts that I was hearing. It was a very impactful day for all of us, and one that seared into many people's memories. So we could go on and on about memory. I'm going to cut it off because this is getting really long, but I felt like it was important to hit all of those topics, and I would spend a lot more time if we were